Hi everyone. A huge thanks to and a warm welcome to Marisha Pessl for being here with us. Hi Marisha, do you want to say something for the Italian readers?
Oh, yes, I am so excited to be on this interview. Thank you so much, Ilenia, for having me. And I'm so excited to talk about Darkly to Italian readers.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna do, as we said before, I'm gonna do a brief Italian introduction and then our conversation will be in English. Ok, ciao a tutti ragazzi, buonasera, grazie mille per essere qui sul canale a supportare questa intervista. È una nuova formula, quindi spero che vi piaccia queste interviste in diretta. Siamo qui con Marisha Pessl, la conversazione sarà in inglese. Nei prossimi giorni poi metterò i sottotitoli in italiano, quindi per chi si collegherà dopo e per chi non parla inglese, tranquilli, porterò questo contenuto poi sul canale, sarà accessibile da tutti. Allora, siamo qui per parlare spoiler free, without spoiler, senza spoiler, di Darkly, che è l'ultimo libro di Marisha Pessl, un'autrice che gli italiani conoscono già grazie a romanzi di culto come Teoria e Pratica di ogni cosa, Night Film e adesso appunto il suo nuovo thriller psicologico. È uno young adult molto particolare che mette al centro i board games, quindi i giochi da tavolo. È un'enigmatica fondatrice della Darkly, che è questa azienda piuttosto misteriosa che arruola 7 stagisti per un tirocinio estivo in cui diciamo che le fotocopie sono l'ultimo dei compiti che verranno assegnati a questa squadra di 7 ragazzi che si troveranno invece invischiati in enigmi e indovinelli, diciamo, che dovranno risolvere non soltanto per vincere la partita del gioco, ma per scoprire la verità anche su loro stessi. Quindi la posta in gioco è molto alta e soprattutto dovrete utilizzare moltissimo la vostra testa, perché è veramente un puzzle dove tutti i pezzi poi andranno al loro posto. Adesso appunto parleremo con Marisha che ci introdurrà un po' alle sue ispirazioni per quanto riguarda il libro, come l'ha scritto, e poi se volete scrivere qualche domanda anche voi leggeremo anche quelle. Sarà una chiacchierata di un'oretta, spero che vi piaccia. Nel frattempo grazie mille a Bompiani, l'editore che ha portato Marisha Pessl in Italia con tutti i suoi libri. Ok. Thank you, Marisha, for your patience. It was just an introduction for let the readers know that we're going to speak in English from now on. And I've just introduced the plot of Darkly. But first of all, I would like to ask you, how would you describe Darkly and how would you present Darkly to us in your own words? Because as a reader, I found it difficult to label your works with just a definition. For instance, Darkly, it's a thriller, but it's not just a thriller, right?
No, it's not. I think that for all of my books, I use them as Trojan horses, the mystery setting to investigate some deeper themes, while also keeping the fun of lots of twists and turns and keeping readers on the edge of his or her seat. So Darkly is a psychological thriller and a coming-of-age story about a young woman named Arcadia Gannon. She lives in a tiny town in America, in Missouri. She runs an antique store and she considers herself very vintage, antique, all things history and of the past. She loves the elderly. So it really comes as a great surprise when she wins a coveted spot in an international competition for an internship with this defunct gaming company called Darkly. And it was founded by a woman named Louisiana VA, who died in 1985. So she's been dead quite a long time, and basically died in disgrace. But Arcadia, our main character, has always loved her as this shadowy figure from the past. So when she wins this internship, she finds herself with 6 other teenagers living on an island, being tossed into this mystery of finding a missing boy who started playing one of these stolen Darkly games. So it's very mysterious, lots of twists and turns, with also this found family element that I love so much, of strangers coming together in this very intense period of time to solve something and then going their separate ways.
Absolutely. I can guarantee it's a beautiful riddle, in my opinion.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
And a lot of fun also.
Yes.
Yeah, you mentioned a pivotal figure in Darkly is Louisiana VA, a very mysterious character that I found immensely fascinating because she is a genius mind, the genius mind behind the invention of 28 infamous board games with chilling titles such as Rasputin or Disappearing Act. There are many things about Louisiana that are captivating, but I would like you to comment on the fact that she is a successful businesswoman, but somehow she decided to keep her life completely secret, completely private, because of the double standards that female artists are subjected to. This is one of the central themes of Darkly. Why?
Well, I'm so glad you picked up on that, because there's so many sort of wish fulfillment fantasies that I put into this plot, and one of them has to do with the female entrepreneur. When I was conceiving Darkly, I was reading lots of biographies of captains of industry, Rockefeller, DuPont. I really wanted to understand the bedrock of the mechanics of some of these titans of power, particularly on which America was founded, but obviously with reverberations worldwide. And I was so upset to see this was still such a male-centric of course, the patriarchy, but women really didn't have inroads. And it was very rare to see a captain of industry or any sort of business that was run by a woman. It was such an anomaly. There were female artists, but they had to make so many compromises. Obviously, movie stars, actors, but when you go back and read their biographies, how they were basically enslaved to this larger system. So Louisiana VA was very much born of my desire to want a captain of industry that is a woman and what that would mean. So I drew from real life stories and then and infused her with this like fantastical journey that was very bloody. And one of the influences was reading some of these biographies and finding out even some of the male, whether it's Rockefeller or others, and finding out like the truth of their rise to whatever pinnacle of industry that they were able to exert power over was so filled with compromise, filled with so much blood, guts. I mean, I don't think there's any ascent to power that isn't filled with that. And in our world today, where there's so much imagery, so much beauty, we fall in love with these screens, these surfaces. And I think we can't help but forget like what it takes to get to that point, particularly of a woman, the sacrifices that you have to make. Of course, everything I do believe is changing, but to go back and see, and particularly in Arcadia, the main character's journey, how she is going to learn from the past. Because I don't think we do enough. I think we read all these biographies, but we still end up making our own mistakes. But the journey of Darkly is how Arcadia learns all of these dark truths about Louisiana while solving the riddle of the present, and how she's going to define herself away from that, not be like that, but still be inspired by this person.
Absolutely, because Louisiana, not just because she's a woman, but she is she's not a better model or a worse model. She's just a different model from
the reality. She's a reality. Yes.
Exactly. Another bewitching aspect of Louisiana is her ability to create a legendary lore about herself, about her board games. She attracted during her life, but I will say especially after her disappearance, so many disciples all over the world. And ultimately, she generates a cult of Darkly, which is her company, but also her legacy. It's not the first time that you bring up the cultish matter in your books. I'm thinking about the cult of Cordova in Night Film, for instance. What's so intriguing in those kinds of situations and atmospheres for you?
Well, I love secret societies and I love a detailed lore, as you were talking about. I also love fandoms and how a love of a particular, in Arcadia's and Darkly sense, the Darkly world, or in Cordova's sense, how that crosses. It crosses oceans, it crosses generations. Like if you love something, like you are united with real strangers with this love of something. And so it's that sense of belonging, a sense of having an insider view of things, and being part of some larger design that's bigger than yourself. I mean, I would love nothing more than Darkly to be real, because I want to go to all of these events. And as I was saying, I'm writing the sequel now, and there are just so many. We're really exploring that sense of fandom, and I think it now is true more than ever. I mean, there are ships, like these reader ships for these worlds that authors create, and it's absolutely wonderful. I'm sure Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling, she's sort of the pinnacle of that. All the offshoots and the fan fiction, and it's really amazing how fans get under the skin of a world and then they make it their own. It no longer belongs to the originator.
Absolutely. In fact, in the chat, they are asking where we can find a Darkly because we want that. We want an original Darkly game.
Yes, I know. We're actually working on that. So there's going to be a television series produced by Jamie Lee Curtis and Blumhouse, and we're certainly going to come up with something very captivating. So stay tuned for that.
Absolutely, very excited. One last question about Louisiana. I noticed that there is a clear intersection between her art and her life. Of course, I don't want to give any kind of anticipation to the plot, but her board games are the form of art that she chooses to express her feelings and to tell her stories in a very twisted and enigmatic way. Do you think that nowadays in the artistic field especially, it is still possible to create what Louisiana has done, to create a distance between her art and the fans? In fact, she worked on a remote island, hiding her secrets. So in a world completely transparent as ours, where every artist is overexposed to on the mediascape, what is the role of secrecy and mystery, in your opinion, for an artist? Because we are used to the main theme about separating art from the artist, but it's such a discussed topic. But there is no definitive conclusion, I think.
Yes, that's such a wonderful question, because I struggle with that myself. I think that every artist needs the private space away from family, away from the din, to have that cave to create. And that is my creative process. So even when I'm allowing readers into that, I am very cognizant of boundaries, because for myself as an artist, I need that privacy. So I'm not naturally someone who's going to be very exposed, but I think there, it's so interesting. I think you have to figure out personally what works for you, because to have your fans alongside you is also just a wonderful gift, to be able to share directly with readers. And yes, gone are the days where we had movie stars and we didn't know anything about them. We didn't know that Cary Grant was, whatever Cary Grant was doing, that sort of glamour and that remove is absolutely lost. But I think you could probably argue that there is still behind the scenes, like, it's bloody, it's not pretty, the influencers are, I think that there's a lot that goes into it. And then maybe when the camera's rolling, they do have a persona. So, those boundaries are shifting, but maybe they're still there at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, regarding fandom, I think it makes perfect sense the fact that Dia, I'm gonna say it in the Italian version, Dia,
Yeah.
um, uh, she is a huge fan of Darkly, and she wants to understand, I think, more than anyone, right? Because she is a fan, what's behind the curtains, the woman behind the legend. So Louisiana, is it part of the growing up process, perhaps to find out more about the people and the things that we worship? It's almost like in every book, you invent this mythology, but the essential part of this lore is the desire to destroy that lore, to make the mystery disappear and solve that enigma. And just your thoughts about that.
Absolutely. I think that that is part of the coming of age journey when, and this is true even when you get to know your parents as adults, you realize, you saw this facade, and that was what you knew and that was what you relied on. And then to see that what goes on behind the scenes and the compromises and the pain and the sense of loss and the fears, all of that is part of the coming of age experience where the child's world collides with the adult world. And I absolutely love that journey myself. And I've taken it with my own idols, and we all learn too much information about the people who inspired us. And a lot of it is, I was always such a fan of Picasso, but the more biographies of Picasso I've read, this sense of the monstrous, and he was a bit of a vampire stealing from him, including people's souls. So it's you, and then you weigh the art against this, perceived monster. If you're judging by today's standards, I don't know if you necessarily can judge by today's standards. I think you have to see people in the context of their history and their time and what they did, and the compromises they made, and then make that judgment. But then I think there has to be some degree of separation from the art. The art lives on, and it becomes its own living, breathing thing.
Absolutely. Well, I think the entire literature is a coming of age story at the end because
It is.
yeah, the illusion dropped, and you know the truth about yourself. That's I think the purpose of literature. So yes, it is a coming of age thing, and your books are coming of age books.
Yes, yes. I mean, I've always loved that journey, starting with The Great Gatsby and To Kill a Mockingbird, some of those great classics, and the horror. I mean, a lot of them are books of horror when you realize what's actually happening and all the lies that adults tell to get by, and it's wonderful.
Well,
The human
well,
experience.
yes, there is beauty in it. So of
Yeah.
course. Well, this book really made me want to go play some board games. I
Oh,
guess
good.
you, I guess you're a fan because the novel itself shows the love that you have for this particular form of entertainment. How and why did you decide to put board games at the center of Darkly?
Well, the book itself has this sort of throwback antique feel because of the main character, and I spent much of my childhood playing board games with my family on rainy nights. A lot of the times we just stayed in and played Scrabble, Monopoly, Trivial Pursuit, and they were just wonderful times of friends coming together. And they're so quiet, and I think in this day and age, I wanted this sort of throwback feel to go back. So Louisiana is not a gamer. There's nothing. She's completely analog. But when you win, you mail in a postcard, and you might get an invitation. It's all very, it's all very mysterious. But it's a time for people to come together, like just a simple human time together. And so that was certainly, I wanted that retro analog vibe in the book, and seeing the reverberations of how this old defunct empire can come to life, and the different pieces of adults and systems that are trying to control this and why. So that's part of Arcadia's journey.
And we are all for this Retromania vibe. We loved it.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah. Well, Dia, the protagonist of Darkly, is a bizarre teenager. She works for her family's antique shop, and apparently she's an old-fashioned and very reserved girl, but she's also very self-driven and witty. As in Neverword Wake, she's not alone in her quest for the truth, and in Darkly, you designed this forced proximity between the characters, and the characters are all neglected teenagers. How did you manage the group's dynamics, and what's the thing you love the most about this particular crew? Because they are all different.
Also, I love a found family, and as you say, that forced proximity, almost like you're at camp or you're in a bus, on a bus, or even a less attractive scenario, an airplane. You're stuck with these people, and I love it because I think incredible friendships, incredible alliances. It's a very human aspect to deal with the people in your close proximity and to make them your friends and to force each other to work together. I love that. And I'm sure it comes from a longing of that, like, now we live in a world where everything is spread out. You don't have to deal with someone if you don't want to. Just send them a text or not even an email. So I love that human quality of coming together. And this particular crew, and I did realize after I published Darkly, like, I've always done a found family. Like, I had a found family in Special Tropics, the Blue Bloods, found family in Night Film, found family in Neverword Wake. So I guess I have a theme here that I love. But this crew I love because they all have a secret, and they all are coming from wildly different walks of life. And they all have different reasons for agreeing to live here in this close proximity and solve this disappearance. But I love all the different layers and how they come together, and how you're getting to know them alongside Arcadia, and they're just a great crew because I'm living with them again now that I'm writing the sequel, and I'm really excited for sort of what ends up developing. But it's wonderful, and then I also love that in these found families, you're together, you make these incredible warlike, it's like a platoon, and then you go home and you're forever changed by these bonds, and you're forged to fire by what you went through, and you never forget those people come into your life in that way.
And it's also very strange because at one point you suspect of everyone, but at the same time you don't want them to be guilty because you are affectionate to them. It's really well grounded because you love everyone, but at the same time you know that someone is lying or everyone is lying.
Covering or all of those like half truths. Exactly.
Well, in Darkly, correct me if I'm wrong, but there is this theatrical vibe, not just in Darkly, but in every book, I think. And it is coherent to your persistent topic of performance versus reality, real life versus fiction, appearance versus truth.
Yes. Well, yeah, you're right. I love that. And there are lots of moments behind the scenes and in Darkly. And I think that's part of the theme of wanting to see the scaffolding and the blood and the guts that make this like gorgeous performance on stage. And there's lots of like being in front of the public and then seeing behind the scenes. And yes. And so part of Arcadia's journey is making sense of that and then reconciling the two.
And one thing that I've always loved about your books, and also in the chat, they have noticed this. everyone is a nerd. Is that everyone is a nerd? In special topics, we had book nerds, in night film, cinephiles, and now in Darkly, they have an encyclopedic knowledge of Darkly's games. Do you consider yourself a nerd as well, and in which field, or just a very curious person?
Absolutely. I mean, I think nerds make the world go round, and anyone who has a deep obsessive knowledge or skill within any industry, I just absolutely love. Whether it is board games or chess or movies or books, I would say I'm more of like a book nerd. It's pretty obvious. But yeah, there's so many different, industries where just a deep knowledge, and then that's part of how you interact with the world. I suppose I love nerds, and I think I'm raising 3 nerds too, so we're doing nerd culture over here.
Well, we
I
need.
don't know how else to go through the world. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I guess
No,
it's cool, but it's so much better to be a nerd.
No, absolutely. This is the historical time where we need book nerds more than.
Yes, I know. I think so too. Yes.
The chat suggests that your next book should be in a theater, set in a theater, maybe.
I love that idea, like a playwright or something. Yep, someone who's gone crazy.
Well, we already talk about this a little, but in Darkly, there is a strong propensity for the past, to say the least. It looks almost like an archive research in many senses. What's the importance in your novels of unraveling the untold stories from the past, and what's so fascinating about old memories and lost objects?
Yes. Well, there's the immortality of these objects, that they last so much longer than us, and then they tell a story. So I love a nice archive, going back to the nerd theme, and piecing together these human stories, and how I'm so interested in how the past actually isn't in the past at all, that the reverberations of this are constantly playing out, often with protagonists who are quite blind to what's happening. And the past lives on in the choices that we make. So part of Arcadia's journey is piecing that together and rewriting a new future and what that looks like, because we're all born from our past. But I love that. I love how blind a lot of us are to what happened before, that what we're living through is actually not that extraordinary, apart from the AI stuff. But I think that, like, looking through the past, if you go back to even Plato or Aristotle, they're dealing with the same questions of that we are dealing with, like what makes a life meaningful, what is happiness, what makes a human being happy, what does it mean to be successful? They were grappling with these same things that we're trying to grapple with. So
Yeah.
it's very funny when you turn to the past, you realize we are it is a bit Groundhog Day, reliving the same thing, but maybe that's the human experience. There's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. Well, Faulkner wrote that the past is not even past, and I think this is the most truthful things I have ever read in my life. Like, the past is not even past. I don't know why it is called past, because it's never past.
Exactly.
However, in each one of your novels, you described a very vivid and detailed world. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but your narrative world seem almost as alternative dimensions, so whimsical, so enigmatic, and then you start to reveal what's underneath this enigmatic and whimsical surface. In this sense, I feel like all your books are connected somehow, like they belong to a shared universe. Am I delusional?
I think that they do. I think that they all are absolutely connected. And yes, we'll see how. I mean, I think actually Blue Van Mira has a walk-on cameo in Night Film. So there are definitely some Easter eggs throughout of how they're all connected. but it's only for the nerd figure these out.
Well, it was fun to see those characters interact between them. I am a book nerd, so I was happy.
Okay, good. Yes.
You are used to include a vast array of extra-textual elements, like Polaroids, old letters, architectural plans, newspaper clippings, and so on. Every book you surprised us with new things. Doing so, the reading experience is even more immersive. How is organized the creative process of this output? Do you work with designers, visual artists? How does it work?
Yes, well, so absolutely. I have placeholders. So a lot of the time I will do my own sort of mock-ups and cut and paste, but I'm not a Photoshop person. So I'll sketch something. And then once the book is turned in, I'll work with the interior designer to design each archive piece. And a lot of the time it's drawing from like things in the public domain and then adding that vintage element, and there's a lot of going back and forth. But for Darkly, I worked with this incredible interior designer that's with my American publisher, and so she was able to take my sketches and really create this archive, which I love because readers can piece things together on their own and also draw their own conclusions and try to figure out the mystery that's inside these pieces.
Yes, because they are full of hints, so don't skip it. Don't skip them, because
I know, yes.
they are resourceful. So, no, beautiful work.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, 1 second. Your plots are usually very elaborated and intricate, but somehow you get everything wrapped up in the end. How do you manage and keep track of every little detail and every element of your storylines? I'm just curious because it was mind-blowing, especially for the last one.
Yes, well, all of it is a magic trick, and a lot of it is just like if you've seen magicians working, like a lot of trial and error. And so I plot everything out ahead of time. And then probably in the first or second draft, I'll tighten and make sure, because there's what I'm writing, and I like to lay in the clues so the reader actually could have solved it by the end, not one of those mysteries where I give nothing away. So the clues are there, the characters are there, the nemesis is in there, and the evil is like within the book, so you can draw it out. So I'm aware of the clues that I'm layering in, so a bit like a reverse archaeologist, and then I'm aware of the reader experience. So I know who I want the reader to be distracted by. But readers are so savvy now. Like, we are past the days of Agatha Christie. We know it could be like the evil old lady who's killing everybody. So I now think you're dealing with a very sophisticated reader who's watched all the Netflix series, read all the Agatha Christie, so when we are, hiding a villain in plain sight, like, this has to be very well done. But it's so much fun. Like, there's no better way to spend your time than
Yeah, of course.
So it's really a lot of fun. I had a great time disguising the villain in Darkly, and I am having so much fun disguising the villain in the new novel. Yeah.
Yes, in fact, writing mysteries in the past was easier, because now readers are so well knowledge. They have so many. They know everything. So
yes, and if you linger too long on, like, it has to be so carefully done. It's very basically like brain surgery, because if it's almost like if you're watching a series and the camera lingers too long, like, I'll immediately know, like, oh, that's the villain. And my husband is like, why are you telling me this? But, like, it's definitely once you're a mystery writer, but if that camera is lingering even a second too long, why is this dialogue here? Another way of knowing is that if like a well-known actor is a bit part in a series, like then you know
Yes.
he's gonna have his monologue at the end where he's crazy.
Yeah,
So there are all these things.
it can be just a casual role. He has to be
Exactly.
there for a
No, like
reason.
you didn't come out of retirement for this like tiny little playground. I don't think so. And of course, it's always like him at the end. So
Yes.
all of those little things now it's very obvious in novels. So you have to really be like one step ahead.
Yeah. Well, you have written both adult and young adult fiction. Darkly is a young adult novel, for instance. What made you choose to switch between them, and do you plan to continue alternating between the two in the future?
I do, definitely. I mean, I think this was born out of I think I had children and I have three daughters, and I really was very cognizant of wanting stronger female characters for my kids. I love all of the classics, but I wanted more young girls at the centerpiece of all of the adventure and the violence and all of the action. Um, so it was definitely born out of a personal choice. And then I love going between the two because I mean, I actually don't think there's a lot of difference between. I mean, a lot of my young adult readers in America are adults. And I think now, at least on the American side, young adult has a speed and a precision and emotionality that when you pick up a young adult novel, those are the expectations. And I actually love writing that. It's so fun. And I'm also in touch with my inner teenager at all times. So it's not like I have to think very hard about like reawakening of what that was like. So
It's a common feeling. It's a common
exactly.
feeling.
And I think now that I'm also finishing up my new adult novel and having had these experiences writing young adult, they inform each other. And so adult is incredible because you can go deeper, you can be more complex, you can be darker. So it's been a lot of fun to go back and forth between the two.
Well, I think it's very important to make a young girl the protagonist of action and
Yeah,
adventure because
yeah.
sometimes we think, oh no, she's a girl, she can do that. Well, she's a girl and
So
she
I
can do
know.
that,
Well,
absolutely.
that's so interesting. You'd think in this day and age that that wouldn't be so true, but it's still there very subliminally. Of course, like we've come so far and it is very even now, but some of those old classics. I mean, I'm a Harry Potter fan as much as everyone else, but I would love to ask J.K. Rowling why she decided to write Harry as a boy. Um, yeah, because now I would always like my go-to is always having a female a female protagonist who's you know and then particularly in Arcadia's journey when she finds out I won't give away the ending but just all of these choices that she's forced to make and forced to become an adult in a very sort of a catalytic way. So that's just my go-to. But it's interesting, even with a female writer, a lot of them choose to write boys.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but yeah,
Interesting.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think it's unconscious
Yes.
somehow.
Yes. Well, it's like,
It's
oh, you
not.
want someone who's able to handle all of these things and not be scared or not be weak, and yeah, choosing a boy. But actually, yeah,
Yeah, and again, Dia is not the strong female character, meaning she has no fragilities or she has no insecurities at all. She's just a human being, and she has
yeah.
her flaws like anyone. The strong female character doesn't mean she's a super girl, a
Right. And
superheroine.
the thing is that boys have all of those insecurities and fears too. Like I know for a fact they do. So this is just a human experience. But yeah, I mean, it's wonderful all of those books that have come before. But then looking ahead, yeah,
Yeah. Well, you published your first novel in 2004 while working as a financial consultant. Special Topics in Calamity Physics became then a bestseller. And in Italy, at one point, I don't know if you are aware of this, but at one point, readers went crazy because it was sold out everywhere and they had this urge to read it. And I think it's a bit ironic, the fact that you have always talked in your books about cult artists and cultish people, and then you have become a cult author. Does it feel strange to you that figuratively fantasy became reality? And did you feel a ton of pressure about it?
I didn't. I think, my day to day has not changed. I still go to my office and I work, so that is not that much different than when I wrote Special Topics. Of course, yes, I wasn't a financial consultant. I'm not a consultant in like a giant, like 58-story building. But no, I think to stay grounded, to stay in your routine, to stay in your creative space, that hasn't changed for me. And I really just, when I do finally have a book come out and meet readers, it's really a joy and a delight. I mean, there were some moments with the Special Topics release that were a little odd, but I think that now, having had that experience and to go out and meet readers, it's such a joy. It's a joyful profession, and it's a wonderful experience. And I remember when Special Topics came out, I was told by some old guard that, oh, no, readers are down, no one's going to be reading, so you're going to be out of the job. So maybe you should go back to financial consulting. I can't remember who was telling me this. I remember being like, okay, that's interesting. But readers aren't going away, and we need books more than ever. And, no matter what happens, I think people will want and consider a respite to go to a book and to read.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe even the younger generation. I'm hoping this pertains as well to the younger generations.
Yeah.
Okay, that's written by another human being, because that's how we connect. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully there will be other writers and not just the AI in the future.
I know. I don't think any of us know where this is going, but we have to, no matter what, keep in place the human element.
Well,
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
yeah, let's see. People is shocked because you were a financial consultant, because you were writing all these mysteries, and they thought that you would have been a very enigmatic person with a shady profession, something like that. No, a financial consultant.
I know. Well, it was my first job out of college, and yeah, and I mean, it was wonderful. The thing is, if you're a writer, you just make something work. If you have a story, you make the time work, you make whatever situation you need to support yourself work in order to get this story down. So, yeah, and by the time my book came out, I had quit, so I didn't have anyone asking me what I was doing at my computer all that time. But I did always get my work done, and then in my free time, when there was no further work, like, I would definitely work on my novel.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to ask you, what writers, books, or ideas in general have most influenced you?
Well, I would say I was an English literature major in college and with a minor in playwriting. So I would say this isn't a very extraordinary answer, but it's all the greats: Shakespeare, Dickens, Jane Austen, returning to these human stories again and again. They're all page turners. Bram Stoker's Dracula is still one of my favorite books.
Yes.
And I loved playwriting, Neil Simon, Sam Shepard plays. I really studied a lot of theater so hence the performance aspect, I guess, in my books. I studied a lot of playwriting and Eugene O'Neill and these grand American tragedies, comedies. And so I was always inspired by that. And I was inspired by what was old and how absolutely modern these things can feel. even when reading a Jane Austen's novel, and all the different characters, the person at the party you don't want to talk to, and the sad, the sad marriage where they're just like, fighting with each other. Like, these are all things that we see in our day to day. So just those timeless stories that bring us together and get under our skin and become part of our lives. Those were the books that always inspired me.
Absolutely. In my opinion, you can tell that about the playwrights also from the pacing of your books. You can tell.
Yeah. Yes.
And last question, what are you reading now?
Oh, what am I reading? I'm actually reading, let's see, I'm reading Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'm reading, let's see, it's on my desk.
Which is also, Atmosphere has been just published in Italy too, so you can read that too.
Yes, and I'm reading My Friends, I think. That's also really good. And then let's see, Catabasis as well.
So you read multiple books at the time.
Oh, and actually, I'm also reading the new Dan Brown. See, I knew I was actually The Secret of Secrets.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying that because, and I think everyone is loving this now, like the cozy, nostalgic vibe. And to have Dan Brown come out with a new novel, I just remember where I was actually writing special topics when I read the Da Vinci Code, and I was living in London. And, to return to these authors, and Dan Brown has a formula that works. It's the character that we remember, and it's a wonderful feeling after all this time to return to that.
After so many years.
I know. I'm really enjoying it. Simply for the nostalgic vibe, but also for all the
It's okay. No judgment here. Absolutely not.
Exactly.
Well, Marisha, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure. It was an honor. You were brilliant. And come on, guys, let's read Darkly, because it's a lot of fun. I don't know if from our conversation emerged this thing, but it's a riddle. It's an enigma. It's fantastic. So do the thing and read Darkly. And thank you so much, Marisha.
Thank you so much for having me. This was an incredible interview, one of the best I've had in a long time. So thank you so much for your passion and all you do for authors and books. Really.
Thank you. Well, have a great day, because it's noon. It's around noon in the US. And have a good night. And for the guys from Italy, have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.